Okay. So now let's talk about job management. So job management provides the least control over the definition of individual positions. It does not mean that it doesn't have any control, okay? It is just the fact that for job management, not going to create. For job management, we are not going to create individual positions, right? So then, how would we set the hiring restrictions? We are going to set the hiring restrictions at the organization level or at the supervisory organization level. So one set of hiring restrictions will apply to all the jobs in the supervisory organization. One size fits all, one set of restrictions will apply. Okay. Now, how do we set the qualifications, etc., etc.? We will set those in the job profile, right, and we will include that job profile in the hiring restrictions. Now, this is particularly useful for organizations that prefer to define a broad job requirement and then rely on the staffing workflow and approvals to control the number of workers. So it's just that the approval process moves from creating the position to the hiring. So right now, when I created the position, I actually went for an approval, right? I went for approval to Steve Morgan. In the job management at the time of creation of this restrictions, we are not going to go for a very elaborate hiring approval process. There may be approvals. Yes, but the actual approval will be defined in the hiring process, at the time of hiring, not at the time of creating positions. Right, that is the difference. That is the difference. So, with job management, hiring is not limited to a predefined number of openings. You can hire as many workers as you need. Okay, you do not need to create separate open position for each job not needed, because you are going to create one set of restrictions. One set of restrictions. Like to be invited to my party. I need to know you, right? You need that, you. I just need to know you, then you are invited, right? That's all. That is the overall generic set of requirement. I'm not saying that. Okay, you have to be my college buddy, you have to be my work colleague, you have to be my childhood friend. I'm not defining a set of detailed restrictions, I'm saying okay. I need to know you, that's enough. You are welcome to my party. A set of generic requirements. Okay. Now, any hiring restrictions you define will apply equally to all the jobs. So be careful if you are defining hiring restrictions. There is only going to be one hiring restriction. You cannot have 5 hiring restrictions in a supervisory organization, it will be only one, so define it. In a broad manner. Now can you change the hiring restrictions after you create it? What do you think? Yes, no, maybe. Can you change hiring restrictions after you create? Yes, you can. Yeah, you can, so you can change the hiring restrictions later as well, right? So what does this job management do? It moves the approval for a new job to the hire process instead of position creation. So, instead of going for approvals for each position, it moves the approval to the hire process, right? So let's say you are looking for people with 5 years of experience, right? You started hiring. You get only 2 people you hire and now you say, think that, okay, 5 years. I think is too much. I think we need people with 3+ years of experience, right? So you go and change that and then you start hiring again, but will that change the other 2 workers that we have already hired? The answer is no. Yeah, right, the next person you are going to hire will have to meet the new set of restrictions. Okay, let's take a quick look at a quick use case. So that manages a great team of software application specialists in a startup company and needs the flexibility to hire workers with a wide range of skills, backgrounds, qualifications, and work preferences, and the organization doesn't want to restrict his ability to fill the jobs as the right people become available. So what needs to happen? Due to the growing needs from an expanding customer base, Ralph needs to increase the size of his team in the areas of product management, development, documentation, and QA. He meets with his manager to outline his requirements and receives a verbal agreement. You see a verbal agreement to fill 9 additional openings, to be allocated as he sees fit right. So there are no approval process present in WorkDay. It is not in the system, it's just a verbal approval. So, after several weeks of interviewing, he has 2 developers and 1 part-time product manager. You see 2 developers are full-time but the product manager is part-time, so he's able to hire a mix of full-time versus part-time workers. He still has management blessing to expand his team and will do so as he finds the right people. So, because Ralph needs flexibility when hiring, he's less interested in filling a narrowly defined position than in assembling a critical mass of employees in the shortest possible time. R does not require approval for the position prior to job hired. Prior to hiring. So in this case, job management is appropriate, where you do not need approval prior to hiring. Right, so you can go for job management, because once you start hiring, you cannot change the staffing model. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So we have quite a few organizations with job management as a staffing model, right? So here is an organization with job management, and in job management do we create positions? Do we create positions up front? No, so if you go to staffing, I don't have the option to create a position. Okay, so don't get confused if you do not get the create position option. Here you see, the staffing model is job management. So where should we set the hiring restrictions? Supervisory, at the supervisory organization level, add-in? At which type of organization are we in supervise? So we should be able to set it at the organization level. Correct, because supervisory is a type of organization. So we go to organization and we set hiring restrictions. See, the menu path is slightly different. This is not. We are not going to staffing and create position. We are going to organization and set hiring restrictions slightly different. Please make a note of this: organization set hiring restrictions for job management. Let me click on that. It says OK, hiring restrictions in big bold, and then it's again asked for very similar things: availability, date, right. We saw this before. Same thing when we were creating positions. The same thing here as well: earliest hire date, job profile. We are able to do the same job profile. Training manager. Right, we can use the same thing here as well. No problem, the same job profile can be used in a position management or a job management. No, nothing stopping us. Location here also, we can say Raleigh. Okay. Right, it's more or less the same thing, but just that the approval process, the number of positions of flexibility, is more in terms of a job management. Okay, time type. Let's say full-time worker type, let's put in as employee. Did you notice one thing? Did it ask me for the number of positions? No, what does that tell me? That there are no restrictions on the number of position or number of people I'm going to hire right now. Let's do that. Let's click Submit. Now, what is it? No job restrictions. No job restrictions means it's open to all. Open to all, anybody can be hired, right? But does that mean that it has no restrictions at all? No job restrictions is also a restriction. That means you are allowing everybody, full-time workers, part-time workers, contingent workers, employees in any location, right? That is what no job restrictions means, that you are allowing both full-time and part-time workers, both like contingent workers and employees, and so on. So in your assignments you will use no job restrictions, because as of now we are quickly creating the hiring restrictions, and in assignment 2, you will use no job restrictions. But as and when you progress, when you do assignment 3, assignment 4, there you will fine-tune the hiring restrictions. Okay, but now you see it here. Also, it says available to fill. Available to fill, okay. So now, if I go and look at the real transactions of executive, I would see the hire option. I see the hire option. Alright.